Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about little things that we can make out of our scraps that help us organize our provisions, our threads, our yarns, our little scrap piles, whatever it is that we're doing, and other things too, but particularly for our slow stitching and our hand sewing projects. Keeping some of these little details organized is a nightmare sometimes. And also when we're trying to pick up a batch of stuff and we're going to go somewhere and we need our few little items and trying to keep them all together. And I don't know about you, but I get sick of little plastic bags all the time. So these are so simple. You've seen, I have a video and I'll post it below where I talk about how I make these scrappy strips, okay? And they're good for so many things. And I make them in long lengths and then I cut them up to use however I want to. So one of the ways that I do use these, and I make them in all types of widths up to probably the widest is 3 inches wide down to 1 inch wide. So whatever I've got, I'll strip it out and use my scraps like that. One of the things that I really like to do is, you know, when you've got yarn and it gets all over the place, and if you just toss it in a drawer, then it gets all tangled up with other things and you can never find the end and things like that. So I'm thinking that, you know, one of the really good ways to use this is make out of these strips, these just scrap strips. Now these I've machine sewn because this is a utility thing. I'm not trying to make it beautiful or a piece of work of art. I'm just trying to use up my scraps for good and practical uses. So I took one and I cut it a length, put a little elastic loop there and sewed a button on. So it makes a cuff type wrap here, you might say. So what I do with this then is I put it down and I put my yarn in it, leave just a little tag hanging out there, and I just wrap it over, secure it with a little elastic, and look, it's all nice and neat, and I know where my end is, and it's not going to tangle up with other things, and I can throw a bunch of these in a basket, and they're all going to stay neatly in their own little cuff. So I love that. Don't you love that? Another thing is, like, if you have several skeins of embroidery thread and you want to hold those for a particular project, or you want to take them with you somewhere, again, here's a little one that I've made. It's about an inch and a quarter wide. And so I do the same thing. I just put it down, take my little elastic, put around the button, and now all my threads that I want to use for that particular project are secure. No problem, no tangling, no losing them. Throw them in a basket, bag, purse, whatever you're going to do, and look at there. It's nice and neat, okay? Then the other thing that I do, sometimes I will drag out a pile of scraps to use for a particular project. A lot of times I will be doing this when I'm going through new scraps or cutting up things for scraps, and I think I get a selection together that I really like. I don't have particular use for it at that moment, but I think I love these colors. I like the coordination of these. I want to keep these for a project. So I just take these. This is a little bit bigger, longer in the sense that it's longer, and it's probably 1.5 inches wide. And I put them in there, fold it over, do my little loop closure, and I've got all my scraps. All these are just nothing but made out of these scrap busting strips. cut to the length that you want to use. Sew a button on the end, sew the elastic to it. Now, I do machine sew these. I also machine sew the elastic because it secures it tighter for me. So, but if you wanted to hand stitch these, you could. If you wanted to embellish them, and you could do that too. But for me, they're just a utilitarian object in this sense, and they're just the most wonderful little organizers. And you know me, I'm not known for my neatness, but I love this, and I love being able to make these out of my scraps. So it's a wonderful project. It's a wonderful way to use scraps. To make these, just tear your scraps into strips, cut them into strips, and just start sewing them down a backing fabric. In this case, this was a old sheet that I stripped up. This is 1.5 inches wide, and I've got about 3 passes along it to get it covered. I'll show you and get it untangled here so I can show it more to you. And I just keep going down the strip. I'll go down 1 and then 2 and then 3, and then sometimes I'll come back with a 4th pass. Like I said, I will link the video where I show a little bit more detail how I do this. But I just machine sew it, and it's secure. It's there and ready to use. And you can cut out, if you have a particular color theme or something, like for instance you wanted red, well then you could just cut this section out and use the red that's in there. How about if you wanted some orange? You could cut a section down here out. If it doesn't matter at all, which it doesn't to me when I'm working with these little closures, I just use them out. I use a big roll of this elastic cording and some little buttons that I have. I found that the bigger buttons do work better for the bigger roll, but these size work good on anything else that I'm using. All right, that's my little helpful video for this week. I hope you get into your scraps and do a lot of busting. You'll be so scrap happy this week you won't be able to stand yourself. Okay, till next time, this is Lynda. Stay scrap happy.